Hey guys, good morning. Just hanging out here, having a little avocado toast. Grace, what do you think? How's the avocado taste, bud?
Good. I want to be excused.
You want to be excused? Okay, you could be excused. He's like, Mom, enough. I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday so far. We have a couple stories to go over today that I think are going to cross your path over, if not today, over the next several days. So a couple things I think you should know. Oh, I'm told not to talk. See what happens with your children? Suddenly they turn 3 and then they're teenagers. I'm going to talk for a little bit. Pinkalicious is on television right now. Thank you to PBS. So hopefully they'll be a little bit distracted. We just had some breakfast. So one thing I just wanted to tell you guys about, I've been seeing all these different headlines about what's going on in Washington, D.C. when it comes to congressional testimony. And quite frankly, I haven't seen a whole lot of news value there. We talked a little bit on the Weekend Review about this, the difference between knowledge and noise. And sometimes when it comes to these politics, I get worried that there's just a lot of noise and not a lot of knowledge to deliver to you. But here's just what I kind of just want to give you an overview of what's going on when it comes to these congressional hearings and the tension and the talk of impeachment that's kind of popping up again. So just to kind of take a big step back, around the time when the Mueller special report was going to be delivered, lead Democrats started saying things like, we're not going to pursue impeachment because even though we could do it, that's not where we're going to invest our time. And it seemed like they were really moving away from that possibility or that threat. Now what's going on is that the Mueller report was delivered. It did not directly incriminate the president in any really significant, obvious way, although there's arguments on both sides of that. And what Democrats were doing, regardless of when the report was delivered, was basically running parallel investigations in Congress to, I don't want to say double source, but they have the right of oversight to investigate what's going on in government as representatives of the people. So they're trying still to continue these investigations. And certain people, like the former White House lawyer for President Trump, isn't showing up. And so now they're threatening that they're going to have to impeach the president to basically continue their investigation. But if you remember when we talked about impeachment, when Republicans impeached President Bill Clinton, it politically backfired on them, where they lost a bunch of seats in the House. And so there's a question about whether or not the American people would really want to see that and whether or not that would benefit Democrats politically. So you have on one side, Democrats very frustrated that they're not able to continue these investigations in the way that they want to. They probably have a valid point there. Republicans are saying this is all political theater because this has been settled by the special counsel report. They probably have a point. And I used a quote from a freshman Democrat congresswoman who said this, and this is what I want you to consider. She said, I think the perception is that Washington is more focused on the checks and balances than they are in actually helping people's pocketbooks and their kids. And that's a real problem. So she's kind of presenting a middle of the road argument saying, hey, it's important to investigate when we need to investigate. The question is this really a priority right now? So that's kind of just a big overview of what's happening in Washington, D.C. in broad strokes. I just want you to know it is happening. And when you see kind of headlines of like impeachment talk intensifies, it sounds really serious. Let's see what happens. That's basically what I'm telling you. Okay. Second thing I want to tell you today. Another big news story has been all these state laws being passed that are restricting abortion earlier on in pregnancy. They're legally problematic because of the existing federal law on abortion in America. So we've talked about, well, now with the legal challenges, will they ever get to the Supreme Court? But I didn't really know what it took to get a law or a decision, a case to be heard in front of the Supreme Court. Like, what does it actually take? Turns out about 7,000 different cases are appealed to the Supreme Court to hear, and the Supreme Court hears on average between 100 and 150 every year. So it's very, very rare. And in order for a case to be appealed to the Supreme Court and accepted, 4 of the 9 judges have to say that they want to hear the case. If 3 say they want to hear it, but the rest don't, it doesn't get heard. And so that's a little bit of a background of like, why are these laws being passed now with potentially more conservative leaning justices at the Supreme Court? Some legal advocates of these laws think that there's more of a chance that 4 of the justices would say, we want to hear that. we want to hear that case. And so that's what's going on. Check out our card stack on that today. I found it very fascinating about the Supreme Court. And I had no idea that if you're arguing a case in front of the Supreme Court, you only get 50 pages to make your argument, and then you only get 30 minutes. And that's it. I mean, cool. I think, brevity is important. That's one of the things Smarter News is all about. Finally today, Texas looks like it's going to be the 11th state to outlaw red light cameras. Do you guys ever have encountered red light cameras? So far, I haven't. I've done other things that are bad when it comes to driving, but so far I haven't gotten a ticket for a red light camera. I had no idea how expensive these cameras were to operate, but also there's an argument about really how effective they are. So Texas legislation passed a bill to outlaw them. The governor needs to sign it into law. There is, again, here's just a quick argument, just kind of keep in your back pocket. Some people think the red light cameras are very effective because it stops accidents of people going into the intersection when they shouldn't, right? Like it slows people down, gets them to stop. You're not going to have an accident in the middle of the intersection. But other studies show that it actually increases fender benders because people slam on their brakes going into those intersections and then they get an accident. So the data is not clear about their effectiveness. You should know that. And in general, there's a big, kind of debate within states about whether or not they're worth the money. Yes, you collect a lot of money from red light tickets. On the other hand, you do, it does cost some money to actually put these cameras in. So, and then there's a privacy argument too about whether or not we should be getting our photos taken all the time, which we basically are in public all the time. Just remember that. So watch what you're doing. Okay, guys, so those are the 3 things I think you need to know. A little bit of drama still taking place on Capitol Hill. A lot of lawmakers are, by the way, gone because they're going to be gone through Memorial Day. And so there's limits of what's going to happen next. Very interesting what it takes to get to the Supreme Court. It takes a lot. So we have a long road ahead when it comes to some of these state laws and legal challenges on abortion. So just know this is a long story. It's not something that's going to be solved in the immediate. And finally, red light cameras. Looks like they're not going to be legal in Texas, and they're not legal in every state. And there's a lot of mixed data about them. So drive safe out there, which I think we all should do regardless of whether or not we're on camera. All right, guys, if you have any stories you want us to check out, email us info@smarternews.com or direct message us on social media because we love hearing from you. And please tell your friends about Smarter News because we love growing our community here as well. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.